This podcast contains
dead memes,
bad humor, last-minute changes,
sudden absences,
unreliable research,
wasted money,
addicted gamers,
and finally,
a group of students with an ever-decreasing IQ of 5.
Alright, welcome back guys to another Laugh Striker video. Welcome back to our second podcast where Timmy, Otho, and Alex, and Benji, who is not here, will talk about video games.
Whoa!
Please clap. In this podcast, we're going to be talking about whether video games are good for you and all things video games as a global issue, okay? So basically what we're going to do is start off with a question. The question is whether video games are bad for us. Timmy, how about you start with some opening thoughts, high-level opening thoughts?
Okay, so I think to evaluate whether video games are even bad for you in general, we have to discuss the benefits and its harmful effects, you know? So I guess we can from benefits, we can start off with my own favorite game, which I will always talk about.
Please refrain from personal relevance until the question.
We will talk about video games in general. So I think that video games are a great creative outlet. It is a virtual world where basically there are no limits, except for battery at this moment, and like my laptop. And honestly, I really enjoy the fact that you can do anything in some place, whether it's virtual or real. It takes less effort, it's more efficient, and it's getting more and more immersive with technology such as VR or VR-related games like VR Chat, which is not a great example. Alex, I wonder what do you think about the benefits?
Well, in my opinion, it really depends on the type of game. So, there are, of course, a lot of games out there which can be very, very beneficial. You've got different simulations, Microsoft Flight Simulator, that's an excellent example. Well, it kind of really depends on what you want to do. Like, for example, if it really helps you in kind of expanding your interests and going into what you want to do when you grow up, for example, then that's really beneficial in a way. But there are other games out there like Genshin Impact. What's the point of it, right? Then I think that is more of a waste of time.
Waste of life.
Other stuff. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so it really depends.
Well, not necessarily, because some harmful games, they can be a way for socialing. Like, for example, playing with friends is a way to maybe have some group interaction.
Entertainment.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. So all, in general, games are beneficial to a certain extent. But maybe for certain games, harmful effects are more than those beneficial effects, yeah.
Actually, I would argue, since everyone's agreeing that video games are to some extent good for you, I feel like it's a very harmful relationship. Video games and me, let's say, it's a very harmful relationship. It's a correlational graph that the more video games I play, the less academically capable I get, okay? So I believe that video games is actually not that beneficial to you. You say socializing, but we can also socialize in other ways. This is pretty ironic because out of all of us, I play the most video games.
2 months straight of playing. Anyways, let's continue.
But still, I believe that it's not the best thing to do, okay? Regarding...
There are better ways you can spend your time,
yeah.
I guess.
But video games are basically essential, even though it's harmful to you. It's
just like oxygen.
It's getting more and more relevant in today's society, I guess. So it's kind of everyone plays it, so you have to conform as well. So yeah, okay, let's put that away. Let's put that away into a box and throw the key into the ocean. And
okay.
into our next question. Can everyone describe what their personal relevance with video games is? So
I think you should begin with yours. As the most experienced gamer.
Why we like video games? Why are they relevant? Why what use they have in our society, all that kind of stuff. So starting off, I believe that video games are more or less a stress reliever. So basically, you come home from a long day of school, you boot up a virtual world where you can just literally mow down every single entity in front of you. So that's more like a let's say
It's a way to vent frustration.
yeah.
Almost.
Venting frustration for psychopaths, making them kill people in virtual reality instead of reality, So that also works. Simulation games can give people like pilots the ability to train. And even violent video games like Grand Theft Auto 5, it's a great stress reliever, and you can do things that you can't do in real life. So, hey.
All right, so now it's my turn to speak again. So I actually think that something we really have to consider first is, what kind of games do we play? Because Joseph, for the many, many years that I've known you, hundreds of years, you have only played hardcore games. In fact, I've noticed a pattern where you don't like Minecraft, which is a more casual game.
That's not true. Minecraft is a hardcore game, okay? Minecraft by itself has a hardcore mode, which is very hardcore. You die once, you die forever. So that's the most hardcore you can get. That's more hardcore than Dark Souls is, Dark Souls 3, which is the most difficult game you can ever play, okay? Maybe we'll now put in some footage, Dark Souls 3 footage into it, and also some Minecraft footage on the right, so that you can compare which game is,
I'm sure we'll have a clear definition of which one is, more hard. Back to the reason why we play video games. So I think, other than genre, which is very appealing, for like some genres are definitely more appealing, some definitely aren't as appealing for some demographics. I think that, all right. So currently, we're all playing an FPS, a first-person shooter called Rainbow Six Siege.
Yep.
Am I right?
Correct.
So Rainbow Six Siege is just a usual shooter game. It's a bit strategic, I guess. You don't really need brains to play that game, in my opinion.
That is
I
untrue.
beg to defer.
Me too.
Defer. Okay, all right. So, other than FPSs, I think, like, in the past, I own a Wii at home. Does anyone know what a Wii is?
Nintendo.
Wii, yeah, okay.
W-I-I. Don't get that one. So, basically, Wii's are, I think Wii's are used for, like, playing group-based games.
Sports.
Party games.
Party games and group-based games. Because, I mean, if you're doing Wii Sports with your family, do you call that a party game?
Yeah.
Nice shot.
It's a group game. Anyway.
Yeah, it's a party
It's a
game.
group-based game, right? So
Pretty much.
that goes back into the socializing aspects of video games. Like, video games are a way to socialize, but they're not necessarily the best way, but they are a great tool in how we can socialize for the future.
So let's go back to the topic of personal relevance. So what kinds of games do you play? So, okay, I'm going to start over from this question and say that I've actually delved into almost every genre of every in gaming except sports games because I refuse to pay EA $200 for microtransactions.
That's part of the ethics ritual.
So I've gone to FPS, TPS, third-person shooters, first-person shooters, looter shooters, all kinds of games, combat-based, most of them, but also casual games like Minecraft, as Timmy describes it as. So Timmy, what's your personal relevance?
Yeah, so other than Minecraft, which I thought about a lot, I really enjoy just virtual world games, I guess. Another game that I've played for a long time is, I guess, Terraria. It used to be on mobile, so I think everyone actually starts off from mobile games, from our generation at least, because we were the ones that started out with the phone. So on phone, you usually just start off with a bit more basic games.
Angry Birds.
Yeah, Terraria Angry Birds is a great example of a game that's out of fashion now.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Temple Run, those classics.
The classic.
Subway Surfer.
Yeah.
Some of them are still surviving to this day.
Yeah, but
I wonder if you have any on your phone, if we have any of those on our phone.
I definitely.
Soul
I
Knight,
only have
that's also a
Minecraft.
classic.
That's not a classic. It's more
So
like
nice.
Yeah. Although, what's your personal relevance in gaming?
Well, for me, I prefer playing simulations, vanilla games like Minecraft, Terraria, instead of those shooting games. But recently, I got into Rainbow Six Siege, and I'm basically addicted to the game,
Pleasantly surprised is what you should.
and I study quite a lot, to be honest.
Yeah.
Too much.
We'll go back to tryharding in games later, but Alex, what's your personal relevance?
I delve a lot into simulations. Kerbal Space Program, that's excellent. Scrap Mechanic, Trailmakers, all those sandbox, build your own type of world, that type of games. And because it really kind of lets you, I guess, roam in your imagination, build what you want to do, kind of, and also delve into kind of my career interests in the future. So
Career interests.
career
Interesting.
interests, yes. But recently, thanks to Joseph,
What, again?
yeah,
Is
R6
everyone blaming it on me now?
No, you did bring me into R6. Let's be honest.
But that, okay.
Hey, Alex,
I would
play
like to
R6
confirm with the
us.
camera that I did not make them play R6, okay?
No, you didn't make us. You invited us.
They had full autonomy, okay?
You invited us.
Alright.
Seduced is a better word.
Oh. Alright, we're cutting that one out.
Okay.
Alright, so our third question is whether video games are violent. Now, violence in video games, we're basically cutting out the simulation stuff, right? So basically everything from The Sims all the way to Kerbal Space Program, we're cutting that out because that basically has no violence. Basically, you can't even crash a spaceship and see
I crashed it.
and see blood in Kerbal Space Program. So that's
I mean, actually, I just want to point this out. Is violence limited to blood or like actual
Gore.
fighting, gore? Destruction of objects. Like, this is a very, very popular game nowadays, Teardown. I don't know if you've heard it. Basically, it has ultra realistic pixel graphics. It uses a very advanced.
no wonder I've never heard of it.
It's a very advanced simulator where it's just like, oh look, the physics of this game are cool because you can break things like Rainbow Six Siege.
Okay, so what I'm saying is it's more gauged into let's say Battlefield, those games, Battlefield, Call of Duty, Rainbow Six Siege,
It's
GTA?
something as long as you venture
GTA.
actor into it.
GTA,
It's violence.
Yeah.
Okay,
So basically,
I agree with that.
when you play it, you get like a blood rush or something. So
Do I?
more like
You lack that gene. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Alex.
the serial killer gene. Okay.
Oh no.
So games like Grand Theft Auto where you rob banks, violent,
Just to clarify,
definitely.
everything in This podcast is mostly a joke. Yeah.
Yeah, and also, all the games that I told you about, and to some extent even pixel games like Carrion, where you play as a monster and you flail around in pixel. Timmy will put some footage.
Oh, it's that one?
Yep.
The worm one?
Timmy's putting
Oh
some
my
footage
God.
in the background, and you'll see it. So yeah, what is your view on violent video games? So, are video games accurately represented as violent? Those kinds of video games.
Well, personally, I think vandalism, like those smashing stuff, is
Games where you smash stuff.
games where you
That's fine,
smash
that's fine.
stuff. Those aren't considered as violent because violence is more like hitting a person, like more like fighting, shooting, those kind of stuff. Like you won't call Minecraft violent by just attacking mobs because that is not technically.
But what about blowing up an entire hill out of spite? I mean, why did we have so much fun with the explosives in the game?
Well, that's not what you call like violence. It's more like stress relieving because it's.
Yeah, I think there's a clear definition between
It's
frustration.
satisfying.
So a lot of people would say that all video games are violent. This is without discussion false because let's say objectively false because
You won't call chess violent.
exactly. So
No. When you take the knife,
shut up.
Just think about you're killing a horse.
Exactly. That's animal cruelty. Another topic for
and
another
think about a
podcast.
bishop. Yeah, you're killing an actual person. It's a chess piece.
Okay, so we're disproving of that because that is objectively false. That is objectively false. But what I'm saying is, let's say in the news, some person says that video games are causing my son to be very, very mean or something, or become excessively violent. So do you think video games cause violence, or do video games limit violence in real life? So do you vent out your feelings of violence, or do you gain,
You get more violent by playing video games.
do you get more violent by playing video games?
Well, games are more like the audience of games are for children, so they play games more. So they maybe have the characters in the game as role models. Like they would follow their actions. Maybe
Like Trevor from GTA 5.
We don't know who that is,
Yeah.
but we know what we do know. The Bobo doll experiment from psychology.
Oh yeah.
Hey.
Oh my god,
Oh,
no one
you
is gonna
remember
get
any
that
of that?
reference.
Yeah.
No, we're
No
gonna
one
discuss
can-
that very quickly, right?
Actually.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
So basically, it's
psychology.
It's basically people putting children in one room and they have to watch a violent act, like someone beating a doll up, a Bobo doll up, and then the children were found to replicate the behavior to their own peers, their own children friends, and child friends.
So do you think people get gradually more violent the more they play video games, or not?
Well,
For me, I'd say it made me less violent.
Yeah,
Actually,
I believe that too.
Where's the real world?
So basically, from let's say being violent in a video game, I don't know why, but it triggers my empathy for the other person in the game who I am
Currently destroying.
shall I say, hurting. And when you have that enthalpy,
Enthalpy.
and empathy, empathy,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of feel like, I don't want to experience that to me, therefore I do not want to put that harm on others, therefore I do not condone violence on any level, personally.
Your viewpoint is the weirdest I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Timmy?
I literally play video games and I see some kind of backward kick flip with like some kind of knife attack, and I go,
Does it make
I'd
you-
like to do that.
So does it make you more violent? Does it make you more
I
violent?
think it mostly makes people. No, it doesn't make people more violent. It's just people learn.
you have to
right.
fall.
So it's
Does it make you more violent?
Well, yes, but no, in a way.
Yes, but
it's the
actually,
player's fault if they get more violent. How about that?
I would agree with you. It kind
But
of
you can control
depends.
yourself.
Yeah, it kind of depends on whether you want to put an emotional attachment onto the subject.
My viewpoint is that every time I play a video game, I'm venting all my anger into the video game. That's how I stay yeah, that's how I don't get mad all the time. I don't go scream at people, because when I don't scream out in a verbal way, more so as I scream out and shooting people in the face in Rainbow Six Siege maybe. So yeah, I believe that venting your anger into games is like a good way to spend your anger, I guess.
I mean, I would have to agree. I mean,
Yeah.
You
So would you
probably
rather
see-
me go to school, like
don't bring up school.
like go to school and beat someone up,
Okay.
Yeah.
In another world
Okay.
without video games, that may have been you. Yeah.
Don't
No.
mention school.
Yeah. So let's say I go to school and I beat Alex up just because I'm angry, just because I'm injured or something. I hurt my arm and I beat Alex up. That's not great. It's better if I go to Rainbow Six Siege and shoot someone in the face and call them a noob.
I just want to point this out. There's actually the middle ground, which is honestly an entirely different issue, which is on a tangent, which is like online toxicity, right? Think about the people who are venting their angers to strangers online, or over games, basically.
Yeah. But would you rather they vent it out inside the game or in real life?
Well, in real life, people can feel responsible because
The anger isn't going anywhere to me. You know that. The anger doesn't go anywhere. You have to put it somewhere. So where do you put it? In your diary?
no, if it's online, if you're if we're playing Rainbow Six Siege and you're displacing our anger on us, which is honestly we feel that, right? We feel that, right? So like when that happens, we understand because we know it's you. You're not anonymous. But whenever it's some person that we don't personally know or some online player who suddenly decides to, I don't know, destroy a house, for example,
But
then how would we know who they are? They're anonymous and they're not taking responsibility.
But I don't think it really matters, because going back to Alex's viewpoint, right? where you have empathy for the other person. You can think like, oh, maybe he has had a bad day or something. I'll just let him kill me, you know? It's gonna be fine, you know?
I mean, you don't lose anything as long as you're playing unranked.
Yeah, unless you're not serious, you know. But I guess that my point still stands in that I actually vent my anger instead of getting more and more angry the more I play. So I guess I forget the question, but that's your answer. All right, another thing that is quite controversial in the gaming world is loot boxes in video games.
That's ethics. That's
Yeah.
the ethics of video games.
Ethics of video games. One very huge discussion in video games is whether loot boxes, you know what loot boxes are? Basically the alpha packs of R6, Tim, you'll play the footage, opening loot boxes in Overwatch.
Or
Is it similar to Clash Royale
Exactly.
Clash Royale, yeah. Those kinds of, I call them mobile/sports game
In-game
loot boxes,
FIFA.
microtransactions,
Okay.
where what you buy is randomized, so you pay for something, but you don't expect to get your value back, right? So some people, like the Hawaiian state representative person, I forget his name, but he is an advocate for microtransactions, loot boxes being bad for people's health, bad consumerism, and all that kind of stuff. So
Sorry, just for context, he's playing Clash Royale right now.
Yeah.
Anyways, continue.
anyways, so there are people who think loot boxes are bad, and on the other spectrum, there are people who argue that loot boxes are good, like the company EA who make FIFA games. You know,
EA.
they argue that loot boxes are actually called surprise mechanics. So
Surprise.
yeah, surprise mechanics. Tim, you can play the footage as well for that one.
Well, sure. I'll spend some time looking for it and playing it. Sure.
Yeah,
Similar to gacha games.
yeah.
Like for
So
Genshin
EA,
Sure.
not too long ago, went on court and told I think the state senate of the United States that video games are that their practices of loot boxes, which earn them a lot of money,
Billions.
Yeah.
almost.
that earned them a lot of money, were actually ethical instead of unethical. So do you think that loot boxes, which are, I hope, objectively exploitative,
Whatever. Just keep going.
yeah, do you think those are actually ethical?
I just want to point something out first. I feel like loot boxes, let's make it clear that it's just a subcategory of just microtransactions in general. So I think loot boxes is basically gambling. You're betting your chances on a algorithm based random number generator which gives you something in return, a virtual object, usually virtual object in return, and
Hopefully
it's-
virtual. What the hell?
no, it's just, the point is that it's basically a waste of money, and you really can't trust. Like, I've seen videos where people are just testing out like the machines in the game centers, like everyone knows where the what are those called? Crane games, like the grabber games.
Yeah.
Yeah, you grab stuff down
The
in
ones
the
that eat
box.
your money.
Yes, those
Yeah.
are obviously raped. They're known to be raped. You pick them up and they'll just drop it on purpose before
I
you
mean,
hit the hole.
the lotteries and gambling in general, especially lotteries, that type of thing. They're designed to take in more than they give back out, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing with these loot boxes. And as much as gambling is discouraged,
Mhm.
people still do it out of I don't know why, to be honest. And
Okay, look.
It's
Loot boxes in the general gaming world, as in more of the hardcore side of gaming, directly opposes this. But let's say FIFA, like from sports games made by EA, their audience doesn't give a crap. They would buy it anyways, you know? This is the way I can get like FIFA Ultimate Team or something. I get better if I pay or something. So they would definitely do it because that's the only way to do it.
And yeah, basically, microtransactions. There's basically 2 points, right? One is just pay to win, which benefits your game.
Yeah.
The other is just cosmetic, which they claim is, if you're not benefiting, then you're not compelled to buy anything. So if you're spending money, that's on you. That's
Yeah.
kind of the
I feel like that would be a bit more ethical.
That is ethical, but it is still a waste of money.
There's a lot of levels to this. The most unethical would be the instance of Star Wars Battlefront 2, where loot boxes were put into the gaming, let's say the hardcore gaming audience, but then actually if you bought microtransactions, you would be 5 times better than the normal average player who didn't buy the microtransactions. So that was unethical. That was pushed back, and EA actually took loot boxes away from the game. Yeah, but you don't see that happening in FIFA games because the sports audience are literally brain dead. They would buy anything. Like, you put in...
Let's not insult perhaps some of our viewers. In the
I don't
audience.
care. Sports games audiences are literally brain dead. If they don't oppose the idea of loot boxes in a video game you bought for $60 US, then I literally don't understand them. So, yeah.
So have you played any sports games?
Yes.
I played FIFA before.
Oh,
Yeah,
I have no sports
yes.
game experience.
Instead of
Yeah. FIFA has like another mode where you don't have to buy microtransactions, but that mode is not very great. I heard. I don't play FIFA, but yeah, but there are instances where microtransactions are done right. So let's say Warframe is a great game not because it's actually a great game, even though it is.
It is subjectively a great game.
It's subjectively a great game. But the way it does microtransactions is that it's a free game, so anyone can get it. So, and you buy what you pay for. So let's say I look at an item, I want to buy that item, that virtual item that I'm paying for. I buy that item. I can actually guarantee that I'm taking that item. That is an ethical way to do microtransactions.
It's kind of a one-time payment versus a recurring payment. A recurring payment where you're constantly buying loot boxes.
The
Or a
ethical-
one-time payment where you get more DLCs.
Yeah, the ethical scale shifts from whether the game is free, whether the game is paid, and also factors like whether the game is good. So let's say Fallout 76, horrible game. They still,
Played it.
yeah, but still they charge you $100 US per year to have a subscription for it. Yeah. They add it on top of the normal game.
Oh my god.
So that is highly unethical, not because the game is bad, even though it is objectively bad. Still, the ethical scale is a sliding scale, right? So it's hard to gauge, I guess. All right.
So, we need to come to a conclusion of this, right? So, do we think that in-game purchases should be completely banned, or should we just ban the concurrent ones or anyone based on luck? Like, luck factor. I feel like we should ban any purchases related to luck because it's just...
at least there's a percentage.
I would no. I would take that out. I would even take that out like a percentage. I would take out loot boxes altogether.
I would say you pay and you should know what you're getting.
Yeah, that's what I think as well. So there's your conclusion, Timmy.
Yeah, let's go. Let's get it. All right.
So that in the topic of talking about gambling and video games, we have to talk about the toxic little kids in gaming. So I'm talking about the little kids that abuse their parents' MasterCards, PayPals. What is the minimum age for gaming?
I think instead of setting a minimum age for a game, it should be a minimum age for, let's say, payment or minimum age for a specific type of game. Because, there's nothing wrong with a 3-year-old playing Angry Birds. But there is a problem with a 3-year-old going around their parents saying, I want to spend your money on whatever thing this mechanism is in Angry Birds that gets them to win the game. Because at that age, first of all, you wouldn't have a concept of money, of how hard it is to earn money, how you're supposed to spend money, and basically a concept of what money is at all. And I think there should be a minimum age where you should have kind of the mental recognition that money is something that you have to earn.
I actually disagree with that. I believe there should be a minimum age for video games because as I was growing up in a personal way, I had a minimum age for video games all up until grade 4 to 5 in primary school. So and it actually gives you like a more mature mind so that you know what you're going into. Let's say you can identify which kinds of payments are a scam, which kind of payments are worth it. You can look at whether you're getting addicted. At least you acknowledge you're getting addicted, you know? So let's say I'm a 6-year-old and I'm playing Fortnite, right? I get addicted. There are literally news articles on people who pissed themselves because they were playing Fortnite or something. So, you know,
on the topic of Fortnite,
it's more about self-control, the age of maturity and stuff.
so like about Fortnite, perhaps some of the audience or most of the audience should have heard of this game. It was basically the biggest battle royale, the biggest video game in general from 2018 to I think maybe 2019 at most, or sometime around that time frame basically. So according to this research, apparently Fortnite made it made the highest yearly revenue of any game, right? It made $2.4 billion just from people buying cosmetics, because that's the only thing you can buy from Fortnite. That's the only kind of microtransaction.
Which is actually, if you take it out to talk about ethics, it's actually quite an ethical price, like consumerism, I think.
That on its own is good.
But I'm not completely sure this is true, but I think I caught some wind before of how there was a specific skin where you have to buy a specific phone to obtain.
Oh yeah,
That's just messed up. That's product placement in a game which I don't think there should be.
Fortnite has had plenty of product placement. They have been sponsored by Avengers Endgame with the Thanos mode,
skin.
or the Mandalorian, which is the most recent event of them.
I don't think any of us are qualified to talk about Fortnite here. So, although,
I've played the game before,
what do you think do you think there should be a minimum age for video games?
Well, similarly to you, I have an age restriction in my family growing up. So I think for little kids, for example, 3 years old, they should be exposed to games. Personally, I think for certain types of games that aid learning, for example, some matchmaking, no, it's not matchmaking, some pairing games, for example, this image links to that word.
Brain simulating games.
Math Ninja. I don't know if anyone remembers that.
Something similar. Those games aid learning, and as long as the parents know that those games won't have in-game purchases listed on the Google Play Store, it's fine for 3-year-olds or 2-year-olds to play games without those in-game purchases. So as long as the parents are smart, quote-unquote consumers, and look at which games to download for the kids, they can definitely play games for short periods of time, obviously, because gaming could cause eye problems, etc.
Yeah,
I would agree with Otto, because when I was young, I also had an age, a limit. My parents had said we aren't going to allow you to play specific games until you hit a certain age and things like that. And I think what happened was it made me get addicted to them once I was allowed to play, because you wait for so long, you aren't allowed to play. And once you get to play it, then you just fully immerse yourself into it, and kind of negative feedback loop. Positive feedback loop in a negative way. And I don't think it's a good idea. Yeah.
Well, okay. Minimum age for video games, I guess. I still hold my point in saying that it actually works, because there is no way that I'm going to allow, if I have a kid, there's no way I'm going to allow a kid of 10 years of age to play Rainbow Six Siege and call someone dumbass.
But that depends on the game itself, right? They're suggesting.
But what I'm saying is, let's say Odo, right? He gets a 3-year-old matching game. The more years, as the years go on, you can the kid will be exposed to games that are in his reach, right? In the Google Play Store, in his reach, and he'll download them without his parents noticing. So
no, deny. I would like to introduce my most hated app of all
App lock.
time. No, not app lock.
Parent mode.
Screen time. It is the worst, most evil app that
I have one of those too. And my own phone, like about like 7 years ago, there's this app called Security, I guess, where they lock your phone from video games, right? Yeah,
I know.
you know that app? Yeah. But even though they actually locked my games, I was able to crack it, crack the Security thing
Like,
to the point where I can play whenever I want. So actually, I don't think control is really a good tactic for parents. I believe, like, do expose them to video games, but not like in a gradual approach, right? So allow them to play video games, but like actually supervise when they play video games. So I'm saying take away their phones when they're not looking at them, you know?
Yeah, I think one of the methods which I really appreciate now as an older person was how some parents would tell their kids, okay, you have a set amount of time a day, but you only get to use that time to play a specific game after you complete a specific amount of work, right? And that sounds very Asian parent-ish, but
I hate that tactic. I'm
But
still
I feel like
having to still. I'm having to
15 minutes of future fight game.
no, but I feel
Oh,
like
gosh.
it kind of tells the child, this is okay, this is harmful, limit yourself. You have to understand that it's not beneficial not beneficial in large amounts or at all to you in some specific ways.
Well, I guess.
I guess so.
Yes.
All right.
I think we can move on.
We can move on now. It's been, 20 minutes talking about this one topic?
It's a good question.
All right. We have, now that we've talked about the age of how old you can play video games, you know, we can go to video game addiction. So recently, well, not that recently, but, you know, video game addiction has been marked as a psychological disorder, and that, you know, excessive amount of video games cause your general life to be disrupted, I guess. Not reliable information, but take it or leave it. So, yeah. So the video game addiction, right? It's been marked as a psychological disorder. So do you agree with that being a disorder?
I wholeheartedly agree, because as like a normal functional human being, that sounds really, really bad, but as you should be able to control yourself, know when you're going too far, or be able to stop yourself from going too far. And just like any other addiction, other addictions count as a mental disorder of some extent. And just like other addictions, I think gaming addiction, when you really can't stop yourself, you can't help it, I would call that a mental disorder, because you need outside intervention to help you.
But who is the one who decides whether you have the gaming addiction? Because you can't use a number of hours as a meter to count it. Because let's say gaming is my occupation. Let's say I'm a streamer, right? I would be playing about 12 hours a day, or combined with editing, right? Or 24 hours a day. Some people do, you know. You know?
Some people.
Yeah. So you can't use hours as a meter, because maybe that's his source of income, you know?
But
So what would you recommend
I
as a
would
meter?
say how much it negatively disrupts their livelihood.
So
Okay.
how would you measure that?
So, for example, if it starts affecting your sleep schedule, eating patterns, mental health, all of that, I think, must be taken account into, you know, whether you
One person
give
is
account
not
as
here.
a mental disorder.
So, okay. Well, what if, let's say one is a streamer,
I don't think it should matter whether
and it
you're-
disrupts his sleep pattern.
Okay.
That's just work disrupting the sleep pattern,
Yeah,
man.
then that would be a work. Yeah.
That's a work problem, not a
That's-
video game problem. I think we're going a bit off topic there.
All right. Well, Odo, what do you think?
Well,
Is it an addiction?
well, I think it's not an addiction. Like, I'm sorry, addiction doesn't mean it's a mental disorder. because you can't call an addiction like a mental disorder just because it's an addiction. Do you get what I mean? Like it's like constantly wanting that object. So if you think of maybe you want drugs, you're addicted to drugs. That doesn't mean that you're psychologically disabled or something. That's like
Yeah.
If you
Okay.
like chicken and you
The
want
DSM 5th edition classifies drugs as a substance-related addictive disorder, while let's say something like gambling or gaming into like a behavioral addiction. So they're both addictions, they're both disorders, but like in the DSM they are, okay? Not
you won't call like addiction to a person. You call love. You don't call it as
or obsession, but simply
yeah. Similar. You don't call that a mental disorder.
let's define what addiction is, right? If I like eating chicken and I want chicken every single meal, is that an addiction or is that simply an affinity for chicken? So I think
It depends on the extent.
yeah, it depends on the extent and how many other factors it affects, right?
Well, we're going to leave the determination of an addiction to actual qualified people because we're unqualified.
Yay!
Yay!
All of our opinion doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Wait, but can I give some input into yeah?
Do good
Like,
input.
I do think that video game addiction should be classified as a disorder because it in the end, if you don't classify it as a disorder, you will have people who don't realize that they need professional help in particular regards. So I think this classification it's more of a preventive and useful measure in general. It's a measure that just helps identify your extent, but it doesn't really explain your extent, and it shouldn't like qualify as you have an addiction. That means you have mental problems. You're a disabled person, basically. I don't think that should be what it qualifies as. So it shouldn't be a professional. It shouldn't be a professional disorder. It should be more of some kind of
A casual disorder?
no, not a casual disorder. Just a disorder you name to just explain the situation, but not like show that you fully have this problem as a biological disorder or something. Because it's not biological. I think that's true. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that is completely untrue because when you play video games, biologically there will be some kind of response to where you get addicted to the point where you can't control yourself. So there is a biological component. We don't know the biological component because we don't have
Dopamine.
The dopamine.
not
Dopamine.
only dopamine. It's not only dopamine. I mean, dopamine is part of it because it's a reward.
Reward system.
Yeah, it's a reward system, but it's certainly not the only one. We don't know which one it is because we haven't, delved into that thoroughly. So we don't know, but we definitely know it's biologically. There is a biological component to it. So, well, yeah. All right. So, why are we talking about video games? Right? We have to justify it. The first thing we can use to justify it is that video games aren't going anywhere. Okay. Like, video games are here to stay, okay?
Yeah, forever.
Yeah. Like, even if
The economic incentive.
even if the news media doesn't want this to happen, like, video games are here to stay. It's getting more and more popular from, like, the early
20th century, 2000s.
2000s, video games have had a huge, had a huge history. So, Timmy.
Chess. All right, I'm not in a good position to talk about chess. I only have a 400 rating, but chess is probably the oldest game in all of history.
Definitely.
I think it has-
Keep going.
One of the oldest games.
It is one of the oldest, one of the most well known, I guess. It has had multiple updates, as in it has had multiple versions. It originates from different places, meaning it has different creators and dev studios. It's simply chess is basically the first. I would say it's like the most, it's the most long-lasting game. I mean, there's still people who play chess like professionals.
Don't call me that.
There's still really good players at chess and people who professionally play chess and chess as an occupation. They're not called esports champions for being great. They're actually
We'll go to
GMs.
esports later.
That's a bit true. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just called GMs. So chess is a sport. Yes. We need to talk about whether gaming is a sport.
No, we'll go to that. We'll talk about it later.
Man, if gaming was a sport, I would be heavy. All right. So,
cut that out.
I want to rearrange it now. Where were we? Where were we? Seriously.
Why? Oh gosh.
The history and development of.
Oh yeah. So basically, chess is just so old, and people are still playing it. And I think the future of video games is really based on how immersive they become. Right.
Hold on.
So, all right. Hold on. What?
What do you think about the history and development? Where is video games going to go?
Well, like seeing like from the past, starting from arcade games, then into mobile games, and now VR, or maybe more. It's getting more and more interactive.
Yeah.
Like there's more of a like sensational like aspect to it. Like you can feel stuff now. Like maybe in the future there might be full body interactions.
If we get a bit philosophical, we might turn into the Matrix in the future if you think about it.
Putting that aside, Alex.
VR. The future is VR. I think. You've got like a lot of technology that's coming together. You've got headsets, controls, all that, and it's kind of course, you would want the most realistic, I guess, way of gaming possible. Things have been getting more and more realistic.
I
as
agree.
time
There
goes on.
has been some great examples. There have been some horrible examples in VR, but one of the best examples of VR being a kind of a good game and getting more and more popular is, I think, Half-Life Alyx. That's a
I think so.
Yeah.
That's
Half-Life Alyx is a good VR game. If I had a VR headset, I would try it out and I would be able to give you a personal opinion, but I can't because I don't have one. But the reviews have been great. So, and a lot of people do try to do VR, but it's still developing and it's not very bright at the moment. So, yeah. So why do you think video games have, let's say, skyrocketed in popularity in these few years? Let's say Fortnite, Minecraft, and all that kind of stuff. Why do you think it has positively surged in popularity?
In my opinion, it's because of influencers. You have people who are uploading their gameplay on YouTube, and a lot of, let's say, younger adolescents and all that, they want to emulate, I guess, you could consider them role models or people they look up to on the internet, and they would try and play these games as a result of that.
I dare say that it might be due to a much darker reason. Because
Dude, what's that face you're doing?
I'm sorry, I just suddenly thought of this, and it's just pretty dark. So basically, the planet is dying, etc., etc., etc. More people want to escape this sobering reality and find a new place where they can be, free or experience
Escape reality?
Yeah, it's a way to escape reality. It's a way to escape reality.
I have heard of this, but not really related to gaming. I feel that people want to escape their world, like neurally program all their brain codes into a computer. But that's not related, so we're gonna skip over that.
Oh, great! Artificial intelligence.
What's your opinion?
Well, personally, I think. What's the question?
The question was, why do you think video game popularity has surged?
Like right now, COVID. Like everyone's staying at home.
Yeah, I'm more talking about the Fortnite years, the Minecraft years.
Oh, okay. Because games are gradually getting more and more like multiplayer games. Like the internet. Like people have more access to the internet. Like for example,
Kids.
countries, India, like they have internet now, so they would play more online games and maybe collaboratively joining in a team playing a multiplayer game. So that maybe have a very huge impact on the gaming, like the whole gaming boost in recent years.
Okay.
It's just development of technology and price reduction, cost reduction.
So what I'm trying to do is think about whether the surge in popularity is due to the infrastructure of games. So let's say how addictive a game is. Let's say pull out like an example. Let's the Division 2 or Warframe or Destiny 2. Let's say looter shooters, right?
Those are looter shooters.
Yep, looter shooters. Looter shooters are where you grind for gear.
Grind, also known as farm.
Yeah, farm for gear. All that kind of stuff. So they are the whole idea of looter shooters is built on an infrastructure that you would get hooked and addicted to get better and better loot in the process of playing the video games for hours and hours on end. It can actually eat up your life, but so I believe that actually it's the infrastructure and how games are built now, because they know that you'll get addicted and they're abusing that to make you more addicted. So that's my viewpoint.
I guess for considering your viewpoint, right? Basically, you said the more you play, the better you get, right? In looter shooters, the more you play, the better you have. The more gear you get, the better you get in general.
Debatable, but yeah.
But
sure.
You have games like Fortnite, which were huge, by the way. They're dead now, but like they were huge, and that doesn't. I think it's really. I think something not to overlook is basically how socially the growth of your skill in a game is also pretty important, especially due to just peers.
Yeah, but going back to your point, first-person shooters, third-person shooters, the trend of how attracted you are to the game, I guess, would be how skillful you are in the game. So the more and more you play, the better you get, right, Odo? Right? In R6, right?
Yeah.
So you get better, and then you go, hey, maybe I can do that. Yeah. Maybe I can do that too, and then you watch a YouTube video, and maybe I can do that too, and you go back to the game and you do it, right? So I guess that's also the social effect where maybe you're better than other players, right? And then you'll get this self-confidence, and you keep playing, and then yeah. So I guess yeah. So I guess that also contributes.
I just started playing R6. I feel Jzee wasn't addicted.
Yeah. So
Very addicted.
yeah. So I guess that's also a contributing factor. Okay, we can get to finally the representation of video games in the media. Now, there are a few viewpoints, right? I believe in the core gamers' viewpoint, gaming is split into two. There's a hardcore gaming side, and there's a casual gaming side. The casual gaming side includes games that are made from, let's say, EA, right? Complete garbage company. Or 2K, who put loot boxes into their video games. Those are casual, right? Casual players would pay for anything. They're whales. So, and then there are hardcore gamers where they play games like Witcher 3, so role-playing games. They play games like...
Sorry, Joseph, but I think I'm going to have to disagree with you.
Let me finish my point,
Yes,
right? So I guess the media representation is that all video games are bad, because a lot of people have this viewpoint. We hate to say this, but it's true. A lot of people do think that video games are harmful to you, and to some extent they are, but it's not all bad.
Well, people still accept it. Like, for example, the famous film Ready Player One is totally based on the virtual reality game. So I think in that film, everyone accepted that game, like James Halliday's Oasis game. So they just played the game, and they just accepted video games as a reality sort of thing. Do you get what I mean? So it doesn't like really matter. So you can still accept it instead of like the media, the whole world accepts the game.
Right. So you're saying that if the so you're saying the media accepts it. The current media right now accepts video games.
I mean, some do.
Okay.
Not all.
I mean, I've seen a few years ago in Fox News that some people believe.
Source.
Yeah, interesting news source. Reliable, not reliable, we don't know, but they did say that. I've heard like a parent say that all video games are bad or something, or they go, this video game is hurting my son. But my viewpoint is, don't put that in the media, because if your son has a problem playing video games, just stop him from playing video games. Take away his Xbox, burn it, do anything to it. Just don't. I just feel like video games get a bad rep on the media. Timmy?
Video games get a bad rep on the media. I think we should define what media means.
My God.
Yeah. So I think, okay, first off, in terms of news sources, let's just focus on the online side of things first. Like, you don't really see like video games getting into like newspapers. You don't really see that happening that often. Maybe you don't see esports deals on like actual newspapers. No news company really does that. But online websites where you have people you have gutter presses that are just pumping out content for just various games. Like, oh, here's where you can find all the rare items for Division 2. That's kind of the media too. So I think it's a completely
games media you're talking about.
Yeah, there's media that's just media that's targeted for games, and media that isn't targeted for games, but we'll talk about anything that is popular.
Yeah.
That is extra.
What I'm talking about is like video games media, right? GameSpot, IGN, GamerRanks, they are all for gamers, I think. So when I'm talking about the general media representation is the ones on the news, right? So let's say, oh, there's been a school shooting, right? And then it's because of this kid playing GTA 5, he's now a school shooter. And that's the sole reason. Like, it never occurred to them that maybe this kid already had a
violent background.
Violent background. And maybe that's the reason. But no, it's always the video games, right? It's always a video game. So that's that's the representation I'm seeing in the media, at least the American media. So
we're still, I think, most of the media across the world is warming up to the concept of video games. Like, I mean, yes, we still see articles of, hey, school shooter plays GTA 5, or like GTA 5 being cause of violent symptoms of someone. But I think that's slowly diminishing because people are realizing that, like the video game can only do so much to you.
The people are realizing that it's not the game, it's just you. You're a dumbass, So,
well, we would like to introduce everyone to the concept of band. Our friend Joseph here said a forbidden word. That goes straight to Jzee. Wait a minute, off.
Alright guys, I am back from my intro. No, cut that one out. Now that I'm back from my band, Alex, what are your thoughts on the representation of video games in the media?
I feel like in the past it's been really negative. It's about, video games kill your brain, video games kill your life, video games cause violent behavior. Recently, like the past few years, it's slowly getting better. I think the media has general media at least, has come to terms with how video games are here to stay, and they're not all of them are bad, and like not everything is caused by video games, and it's nice to see them like shift the focus of like negative focus off video games, and I think like video games should be seen as just a integral part of the world we have now.
Yeah, I also believe that video games are gaining relevance in our time. Like even people like our teachers, right? They know about video games. They even put them in the stereotypical stereotypes of what is a man,
I have no idea what.
So I guess video games are getting more relevant to the point where there are now occupations for video games. So let's name a few. Timmy, name one occupation for video games.
I guess, the main occupation is just YouTuber.
YouTuber.
So basically, a lot of the YouTube industry is actually now focused on gaming. I think the YouTube gaming channel has 100 million subscribers. I mean, that's a lot of people. So basically, you have a lot of people on YouTube who are. There should be a bit more. Yeah, you have YouTubers who are really, honestly, they're just role models now, as Alex says. They're role models, even though they're just playing video games most of the time. But It's kind of a source of entertainment. It's a really I think if you had to just determine the source of YouTubers, it would kind of be like talk shows or just shows where you're featuring people in general, because YouTubers are usually popular for their personality or their plays. Sometimes both. No, usually both. Right? If you have personality, if you're good at the game, and if the game is popular, then those are the free ingredients you need for a successful YouTube career. And YouTubers gain a lot of money, and YouTubers they're earning money. They're serving as role models.
I mean, YouTubers aren't the only people who get money. Playing video games gets you money, but the gaming industry itself earned in 2013 or 14, I think they made double the amount of the film industry makes. The game industry doubled the amount of the.
But the gaming industry includes what companies are making.
Yeah, only the companies. So the companies are already making more than the film. So do you think that YouTubers are making more than actors?
I think that YouTubers are making more than actors, and I think that YouTubers are more popular than actors because you have people like Chris Evans who can't even be named properly on the street by some people, and while you have people who would instantly know given the face.
Okay, so let's say I give you the likes of PewDiePie on the street, and let's say a popular Chris Hemsworth, right? They both walk down the street. Who gets recognized?
Depends on your age.
Well, I think what's key here is Chris Hemsworth is going to be recognized as Thor, but you're having a YouTuber who is recognized as himself.
That's true.
Yeah, I think that's actually really important. Identity. It's super important. YouTubers are representing themselves, while actors, they're acting
All right.
for someone else.
All right, I yield.
Let's go.
All right,
So
although,
coming up to
name another occupation. All right, describe them.
Just like you and all of us, maybe like whoa.
So they're just
I don't know if it's
what Odo is
occupation.
trying to say is they're just like normal people, right, Odo?
Well, they show their faces on screen.
Yeah.
Most of them, and show their gameplay. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why just basically streaming your gameplay onto Twitch has gains followers and even revenue. So, what if I play Minecraft and just stream it on Twitch? I can also gain revenue.
You could.
Yeah,
but it's
it's that
occupation.
easy. So,
Yes, because it's a full-time job if you stream Minecraft
Oh, yeah.
and you're earning money. You got to find a job.
Okay, alright.
and you're playing a game you like, and that's the main thing.
If you like, wait, what was the saying again? If you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life.
Yeah.
That is a very, very bold statement, which I will crush to the ground. Because working work that you don't enjoy just makes you a robot, and robots are not what we need in modern society.
George
Critical
Monbiot.
thinkers. We need genuine people who aren't factory workers because factories are dead.
Timmy is channeling his English HL.
Yes,
His
this
inner.
is an English HL podcast.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So if you learn-
English HL.
Yeah.
Hey.
Anyways, Alex, can you name another one?
Is developer an occupation?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, sure.
Yeah, so you, for a lot of time, your job is in developing a game which people would hopefully enjoy.
It's more traditional, though. It's more a traditional job
It is.
compared to YouTubers and
But it
Twitch
is-
streamers.
I would argue a more integral part of the gaming community than YouTubers and streamers.
I disagree with that because without streamers and influencers, the games, even if they're good, they won't be very
But without a
huge.
developer, you wouldn't have a game to begin with.
Yeah, but there will always be an influx of games already because there are already a lot. And
I have a good analogy. You can just compare this to
Chicken
film.
and egg.
The developers are basically the directors of film, and the actors are just the YouTubers. So without the actors, the film will work. Without the directors, the film will work. It's an interdependent relationship.
Chicken and the egg.
Yes, it's kind of. I mean, yeah, it's a chicken and
Did the
egg.
chicken come first or
Alright.
did the egg come first?
all right. Okay, the last one, I guess. The last one, okay, there are two. CEOs of game companies, although they make a lot of money,
They do.
they do make a lot of money. There are instances where they lay off developers but get a huge amount of bonuses for themselves. So those people are kind of unethical and kind of douchebags, but
No, you know what? We'll let that slide. Just keep going.
But there are other occupations like esports. You get good at a game, and then so good at a game that it becomes your job. You're not. It can coexist with YouTubers and streamers because they're good at the game. People will watch them, but also esports by itself can also be an occupation.
It's like some quick context. I guess you can compare esports to kind of.
So I guess that also contributes to the media representation of video games, right? Because now that video games can turn into a job, it's not really something that can be looked down on, I guess. And also, video games are actually becoming more and more legit, I guess. More and more like the film industry, where you won't look at an actor and say, "Ugh, he freaking like sucks, dude. Like he sucks." Like you won't go like that, or he has an addiction to acting. You won't go like that. And I guess it also jumps back to the point to where games are getting more popular, and the media actually is getting more and more passive, I guess, accustomed to video games. So yeah, I guess now we have to go to our closing thoughts. Terry, what are your high-level closing thoughts on whether video games are bad for you?
Okay.
Video games is a global issue. You can talk about anything.
I think video games are mostly beneficial for you, contrary to what I wrote. They're mostly beneficial to you simply because of its possibilities. It has very high potential for so many things. It has high potential in just helping you psychologically, although it does harm it as well. Let's just forget about that. It also has potential to it's development of technology, and I mean, we're happy to see the technology of the human race improving without causing disruption to the environment. That's another issue for another day. And finally, we're also happy that video games are providing job opportunities, I guess. I mean, they're helping the economy, and who doesn't want the economy to improve?
Odo, closing thoughts?
I agree with Timmy. It's very, very beneficial, because it opens up a lot of possibilities, as mentioned, and also it helps helps us to either relieve stress or help kids to learn, or help maybe grown-ups to stimulate their careers, etc. There are a lot of very good ways that games can help. And for the cons of video games, I don't think it's more it's not that of a deal, because you can control yourself as a person, and as a gamer, I know when to stop. And
bold of you to assume that you're a gamer. You've been a gamer for 3 days.
Really?
Yeah.
No, don't do that.
I play on mobile. Okay?
That doesn't count.
That does. Anyways, forget that. I want to mention something I actually forgot to talk about it. So basically, I didn't talk about the downsides. We've discussed how the industry, like the loot box system and everything, that can be unethical.
Yep.
And that would be the huge problem, the huge con of video games, right?
Yeah.
The industry.
The gambling.
The systems and everything.
Microtransactions.
Yes, but video games is actually just so democratic, I guess. It's just so player-based, because what are video games if you don't have players playing the video games? So players are choosing what they want to have as an experience. So,
the whales.
It is very important to note that video games can be customized based on their consumers themselves.
Alex?
I feel like video games are mostly beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
Emphasis on in moderate amounts. Right? You don't want to get addicted, no matter how good it is, because
right.
you can have too much of a good thing, and it's
like water.
Yeah. Yeah,
Too much water gives you water poisoning.
exactly.
Oh my
And
god.
so, like, in moderate amounts, it is mostly beneficial as long as you control yourself. And you're aware of the risks, you're aware of the potential downsides, and you're aware of what you're doing.
All right. So my closing thoughts are, video games are you and video games, I think, have a give and take relationship. You're benefiting from video games by having it. You're, I guess, learning from video games, I guess, or venting your feelings towards video games so that you don't exert that feeling in real life, I guess. So this is from personal experience, I guess. So the take of the relationship is that video games, if you have a lack of self-control, then it will drown your life. Seriously, it will drown your life if you don't control yourself. So this goes back to why we talked about the age, the maturity of gamers, I guess, and so that you shouldn't let a kid play very highly built games that are meant to make people hooked. So I guess that's the takeaway from this episode, everyone. So so the answer is quite mixed, and we can't really come to a conclusion, can
No,
we?
we can. The conclusion is
Control yourself.
Yeah.
Control yourself, and you have an industry full of possibilities.
So so when you play video games, ask yourself, can I control myself, or whether video games is actually helping me or whether video games is actually hurting me, right? So I guess that's what you have to consider before you play video games. But last few words before we end this, I was about to say stream.
Oh my god!
Last few things we have to say before we end this episode is that we are not responsible for any information that we give
or any advice
we give that you decided to follow. So try to do your own research and not solely depend on our viewpoints. So yeah, so that's the end of the podcast.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for watching the stream. I hope you enjoyed.
Bye.
And always remember to subscribe. Usually I would hit my bell, so like my watch, that's usually better. And yeah.
All right, play the outro.